Let's jump into lesson 2. I'm only going to be showing you the mistakes today because there's actually not that many, and you can just go watch lesson 2 if you want to learn. Otherwise, this is the mistakes because there were some, and I'm going to destroy them today. Let's go.
So just to cover quickly what we're going to be going over tonight, we're going to be going over this and that in Japanese.
Which we already did in lesson 1 a bunch, but whatever.
Here and there, whose, to as in you too and stuff like that, negative statements, and useful sentence enders.
The last video had 890,000 views. This one has 378,000. That means a lot of people quit after lesson 1. Is what it is.
It's pretty straightforward, actually. Kore, which means this, something near you. So if I was talking about
these are pronouns, by the way, pronouns for things that are near you.
This little green ball right here, I would say kore, this. Non-specific this, that, and which you'll notice ends in de.
By non-specific, I mean that it's not directly modifying a noun. I'm not saying this clock or this dog or whatever. It's just the pronoun this, that, which.
Are, that.
Over there.
Dore.
That over there would be a good way to translate are, I think. It's what I probably do nowadays.
Kore wa nan desu ka?
Once again, if I were to, I say once again because I talked about this in lesson 1. If you haven't watched that yet, check that out over here somewhere. If I were to do these lessons over again, I would do every single translation here as a completely literal translation. So here I have what is this? I would actually change this to this topic, what it is, question. And that's how I would have translated these, just so that listeners and viewers could get more used to the structure of Japanese and not just translations, beautified translations.
Kore wa nan desu ka? And it's a tie clip that Yuki made with mizuhiki, which is Japanese paper art, basically.
Drop it in the ad. She doesn't do that anymore, sadly.
Our next sentence is, それはピカチュウです. Pika, by the way, pika means, I think, like electricity. It's the sound electricity makes.
And chu is the sound of like a mouse. He's electric sounding mouse. By the way, Pokemon is a great game to start out with if you're going to try and learn Japanese through playing games. Especially the newer ones. They all have furigana, and all of the Pokemon names are in katakana, so you get tons of practice with it if you play Pokemon games.
Are wa nan desu ka?
So that over there, topic, what it is, question.
Let's go over the English for each of these. All right, our first sentence was, これはおいしいですか?
This topic, delicious, it is, question.
B says, 何ですか, それ. So you'll notice that this sentence says それ, but it's not where you would expect it to be. It's not at the beginning of the sentence. It's not maybe grammatically correct officially, but in conversation, Japanese people do this all the time. So
it's grammatically fine.
So in this case, 何ですか, それ. Our next sentences were, これは納豆ですよ. This is natto. And in yellow and blue, I have I tell you. That's the yo particle or marker. We're going to cover that at the end of this lesson, so stick around if you want to learn how to
stick in a bunch of things from later on in the lesson into the video. So I end up having to explain it ahead of time. Yeah, I don't know how I feel about that. I guess it's okay, but
知らない, which is the informal way to say I don't know. Now this verbs don't really show up in Genki until lesson 3. That's going to be next week, and that's a
lesson 3, and I'm popping up a lesson 8 conjugation here in lesson 2. Wonderful, wonderful.
Tough lesson. It's the toughest lesson in the book. It's where everyone gets hung up. You don't need to worry about the conjugation right now. You could just memorize the word shiranai, which means I don't know. All right.
Okay, so an issue with that sentence in general, not with that sentence in general, but with this dialogue in general, is that what it sounds like I'm saying is that I don't know what natto is. I've never heard of it, is what that sounds like. Because there's 2 verbs in Japanese. One is to understand, that's wakaru, and the other one is to know, shiru. So the difference between wakaru and shiru is that wakaru is used for things that you sort of understand from experience. You know this thing internally, you understand it. Whereas shiru is generally used for just like information, like you read it in a book, or you didn't have this information, now you have the information. It's like data. So shiranai here doesn't make a whole lot of sense it makes it sound like I don't know what natto is, but I think what I was going for originally in this dialogue is saying that I don't know whether or not it's delicious. So it would have made way more sense for me to say wakaranai. I don't understand it because I don't know from experience whether or not it's delicious or not. So I would say that this is a mistake. Bad Andy. It's not a huge issue, but it is a difference between those words that maybe I wasn't fully cognizant of. Is that a word? Back then.
All right, so moving on to specific this and that in Japanese. Kono requires a noun. You must have a noun that comes immediately after kono when you...
I've never actually looked this up or researched it, but I feel like this no in kono might, this is not gospel, guys, but it might come from the no that was taught in lesson 1. It might be because it's, it's connecting this ko to a noun with no. It might come from that. Of course, I would consider kono, sono, ano, etc. as standalone pronouns, but maybe it comes from that.
So, この本は面白いです。
面白い. I should be more careful with that. 面白い. These are things you get over time.
Did you guys know that Pokemon in Japanese is Pokemon? It's the same thing. Came right out of Japanese.
Which, of course, comes from Pocket Monster.
あのポケモンはピカチュウですか? So we see a couple, maybe 3 or 4 Pokemon off in the distance, and I say, あのポケモンはピカチュウですか? And the person that I'm with responds with, どのポケモン? He can't see any Pokemon. I'm probably hallucinating.
Wait, what?
No Pokemon. He can't see any Pokemon. I'm probably hallucinating.
I mean, yeah, I guess dono Pokemon could work if I couldn't see anything, but it would make more sense if there were multiple ones in the distance and I wasn't sure which one they were pointing at. Whatever.
その本ですね。1000です。Ah, that book. Got it. It's 1,000 yen.
So interesting little fact I wanted to bring up is that en, the word for yen in Japanese, it is en. And that's how it's written in all situations, and that's technically how it's said. And even if you ask a Japanese person in isolation how it's pronounced, they'll say en. But if you pay close attention, you'll notice that when a number ends in an n, Japanese people say yen. When you hear a Japanese person say sen en, what they'll actually say is sen yen. Sen yen. Same thing for 1,000,000 yen, so for 10,000 yen. So a little interesting thing there you might notice. Pay attention if you're hearing people say numbers and or prices.
So our next section is here and there. This is a little bit weird of a sentence. You might not ever have to say this, but if you wake up and don't know where you are one day, you could probably say,
You might.
ここはどこですか? I have actually said that before on road trips and stuff where we ended up in some weird places, and I was like, we've gone on a lot of road trips.
Interestingly, I don't think we've gone on any road trips since this video was recorded 5 years ago. Unless you include a day trip. That's kind of sad.
四つ葉島はどこですか?
The interesting part about this to me is that I based this entire exchange on the first time I ever asked where something was in a shop. So this was the first sentences I tried out in an actual shop here in Japan.
あそこです. It's over there.
Except I don't think they had it.
すみません.
So it looks like I covered this in chat between sections, and I didn't actually bring it up in the lesson itself. We covered eto a little bit earlier, but not ano, which is essentially the same. It just means and you can use it in the exact same way, but you can also use it when you're showing hesitation at asking someone a question.
僕もアメリカ人です. I am also American. So mo can also be translated as also.
I tend to call mo these days the also marker. It marks the thing that is also something else. The also marker.
Our mo sentence is バイオハザードも楽しいです. Resident Evil is fun too. So Resident Evil in Japanese is biohazard.
Someone asked me recently in the comments, they asked if Resident Evil is called Biohazard, what do they call Resident Evil Biohazard? The answer to that is actually pretty funny. Biohazard Resident Evil. Resident Evil. Evil? I can't remember. It's something like that. It's just reversed.
そのカバンはわかりません. A little bit faster.
Throwing verbs in here now.
これは誰のカバンですか?
There's way too many verbs in this section. this whole lesson. What are you doing, Andy?
C さんのです or
And this is probably... I haven't gotten that many questions about this, so I'm assuming I explain it fairly well afterwards. And I suppose throwing in new grammar into the new grammar could be helpful because you get sort of a peek ahead. But as a teacher now, who's gotten many, many questions that I could have saved myself from, I probably wouldn't do this. Like, "しさんのです." I'm using a grammar that's not taught until, I don't know, lesson 9 there, where you can drop the noun and just use no in its place. Because I don't teach it in full, people start trying to use this in places where it shouldn't be used because they haven't actually learned it yet. And the verb wakarimasen, that's the next lesson. Why couldn't I have waited? It just forced me to have to explain more, which made the lessons probably more complicated than they needed to be.
All right, so earlier we said that shirimasen or shiranai was I don't know. Wakarimasen can also be translated as
Let's see if I can pull this off.
I don't know, but it's more commonly translated as I don't understand. But it can also be used in this kind of situation where I do not have the knowledge of whose that bag is. I don't understand whose that bag is. I don't know.
I didn't quite understand, I think, at the time, the details of the difference between shiranai and wakarimasen, clearly. Now I do, fortunately.
Yo can be translated as I'm telling you, or I tell you. It's sort of a confident statement. It makes your statement confident, as in, I am confident that what I'm telling you is the truth.
Another important point is that it can have a feeling of friendliness to it. Friendly new information is what I like to mark this in my literal translations these days. Friendly new information.
Maybe someone doesn't believe you, or maybe someone doesn't know what bananas are like. Someone asks, maybe they've never eaten bananas. Is that possible? They're like, what do bananas taste like? And you could say, they're sweet, man, Banana wa amai.
Or this idiot named Andy's like, bananas aren't sweet. And you're like, banana wa amai desu yo. They are sweet, man. Friendly new information.
It's your party, huh? So this, you see, fu, elongated, is not, I guess it could be like the, in English as well, but it's more like the sort of aggressive, Does that exist in English, or have I just carried that over from Japanese? I'm not actually sure.
I'm still not actually sure.
Someone let me know in the comment.
And it does, the f is not really enunciated in this. It's very much like a very, very, very mild there.
Emoji is emoji in Japanese. それは
Moji is a single word, means a single character, a type of character. Like one kana, one moji.
So thank you,
Ooh, I got channel登録 correctly here. I thought it was only the first lesson that was wrong. That's good. Lesson 2 was fine. Like, there was really not that much that needed to be corrected. Honestly, it felt too long. I over-explained some things, and there were a few little things that I might have explained differently, but there weren't any, glaring mistakes beyond the shiranai and wakaru. Maybe in future lessons that will be different. Thanks for watching, everyone. I hope you learned something, and yeah, if you actually want to see the full video that this was taken from, now that you've seen all the mistakes that have been corrected, click on this video right here. Over here, I guess. Yeah. Go check it out. Learn some Japanese. That guy, he wasn't that bad.